Hey, this is Scott Hambrick at scotthambrick.com. Another show about logic. There's a blog post for this on the website. It's called Logic 3. It's about the second law, the law of non-contradiction. I'll just read this post to you, but if you want to see it, read it, spend a little more time with it, see some of the links, go to scotthambrick.com. You'll find it there. In the first two articles, I wrote about being, in the first law of thought, the law of identity. Go there and check those out before you jump onto this article. This second law, the law of non-contradiction, and the third law both follow from the law of identity. They're correlates and consequences of the first law. Aristotle gives us the second law in three different forms. In Metaphysics Book 4, Section 3, he says, "The same attribute cannot at the same time belong and not belong to the same subject in the same respect." This is his ontological argument. It's an argument based on how things be. It's about existence. The subject cannot have an attribute and not have the attribute at the same time and in the same way. This is the important beginning of all syllogisms. You can remember those from geometry. Here's one. All men are mortals. Socrates is a man. Socrates is a mortal. For this to hang together, the attributes mortal and man must belong to the subjects in the same way at the same time. That's self-evident, but it took a genius to recognize it and put it into words for us the first time. Aristotle states his law of this in a second way. From Metaphysics Book 4, Section 3 again, he says, "This, then, is the most certain of all principles, since it answers to the definition given above. For it is impossible for any one to believe the same thing to be and not be." I'll hit that again. It is impossible for anyone to believe the same thing to be and not be. This is where cognitive dissonance lives. That distress is evidence of the truth of this psychological claim that Aristotle is making. It's possible to evaluate contrary truth or falsehood of two different subjects, but it is psychologically impossible for a mind to hold two contrary beliefs simultaneously. When presented with evidence contrary to a closely held belief, people can experience extreme distress. That distress often leads to people equivocating, moving the goalpost, ignoring, destroying friendships, or even screaming in an attempt to retain the first wrongly held belief. When we are at our best, we hear the arguments and change our beliefs based on the evidence. If you're going to operate on our Socratic demonstration here, you can't believe that Socrates is both a man and not a man. Luckily, it's impossible to actually believe both. This is just one reason why it is important to actually define what a man is. Equivocating on manness changes everything. Here is Aristotle's third run at stating his law. He says, Metaphysics Book 4, Section 6, "The most indisputable of all beliefs is that contradictory statements are not at the same time true." This is strictly a logical argument and relies on the law itself. It's a tautology, I think, but I'm okay with that. Things are strange when you get down to bedrock, and tautologies, they crop up when we're talking about axioms and thought. I also believe, like Aristotle, that this is the most indisputable of all beliefs, that contradictory statements are not at the same time true. Here's a little fun piece from Aristotle. Again, Metaphysics Book 4, Section 4, he says, "If all are alike, both right and wrong, one who believes this can neither speak nor say anything intelligible, for he says at the same time both yes and no. And if he makes no judgment, but thinks and does not think indifferently, what difference will there be between him and plants? Thus, then, it is in the highest degree evident that neither any one of those who maintain this view, nor anyone else is really in this position. For why does a man walk to Megara and not stay at home thinking he ought to walk? Why does he not walk early some morning into a well or over a precipice, if one happens to be in his way? Why do we observe him guarding against this, evidently not thinking that falling in is alike good and not good? Evidently he judges one thing to be better and another worse. And if this is so, he must judge one thing to be a man and another to be not man, one thing to be sweet and another to be not sweet. For he does not aim at and judge all things alike. When thinking it desirable to drink water or to see a man, he proceeds to aim at these things. Yet he ought, if the same thing were alike man and not man. But, as was said, there is no one who does not obviously avoid some things and not others. Therefore, as it seems, all men make unqualified judgments, if not about all things, still about what is better and what is worse. And if this is not knowledge but opinion, they should be all the more anxious about the truth, as a sick man should be more anxious about his health than one who is healthy. For he who has opinions is, in comparison with the man who knows, not in a healthy state as far as the truth is concerned. Judging and knowing truth and falsehood when we see it is the difference between safe travels and falling down a well. So judge well, and don't let those bastards lie to you.